You're listening to the Living Beyond Broken podcast. If your life or the life of a loved one has been touched by divorce, mistreatment, addiction, or abuse, you may feel broken, even broken beyond repair. Carolyn Calton, a Christ-centered, self-worth, and relationship revitalization educator and coach, will help you find purpose as today's changemaker, chainbreaker, so you can turn stress, anxious thinking, anger, and dysfunction to hope, direction, happiness, and peace. Now, here's your host, Carolyn Calton.
Greetings. Today we'll be talking about how traditions directly link to personal freedom. It does not take much thought to recognize that it would be wise to make choices connected to our traditions that will help and not hurt ourselves and our families. But it does take a lot of conscious thought to take action to create freedom from destructive, dead-end generational patterns and beliefs to make room for healthy, productive, life-changing progress. The way is not always easy, but it is possible. A word about tradition. Maybe you remember the movie Fiddler on the Roof. An online film synopsis states that the movie, quote, tells the life-affirming story of Tevye, a poor milkman with 5 daughters whose love, pride, and faith help him face the oppression of turn-of-the-century Tsarist Russia. Set in 1905, their lives seemed as precarious as a fiddler on the roof. End quote. In these memorable lines from the movie, Tevye says, "A fiddler on the roof sounds crazy, no? But in our little village of Anatevka, you might say every one of us is a fiddler on the roof, trying to scratch out a pleasant, simple tune without breaking his neck. It isn't easy. You may ask, why do we stay up here if it's so dangerous? We stay because Anatevka is our home. And how do we keep our balance? That I can tell you in one word, tradition. Because of our traditions, we've kept our balance for many, many years. Here in Anatevka, we have traditions for everything. How to eat, how to sleep, how to wear clothes. For instance, we always keep our heads covered and always wear a little prayer shawl. This shows our constant devotion to God. You may ask, how did this tradition start? I'll tell you, I don't know, but it's a tradition. Because of our traditions, everyone knows who he is and what God expects him to do. End quote. You'll find that reference in Fiddler on the Roof, great musicals of the American theater by the Chilton Book Company, published in 1973, page 393. Help, don't hurt. Because traditions become such an inherent part of us, and they are followed and accepted, often without thinking about it, it may be hard to evaluate between their constructive or destructive impact in our lives. They're simply familiar. We want to help and not hurt ourselves and others. Therefore, it's incumbent upon each of us to find ways to cherish and value positive traditions from our ethnic, cultural, or national heritages. Yet we must be mindful of those that tear down and destroy self-worth and relationships, and find the courage and tenacity to create more positive results instead. This is what truly benefits humanity. After all, isn't it right that each generation improve and build better, brighter tomorrows as they stand on the shoulders of those who came before them? Usually that's what our ancestors would want, so that their sacrifices would not have been in vain. Some traditions that tear down rather than build up individuals and families are any tradition in which control or dominion is exerted one against another individual or group. Traditions that breed addiction. Anything based on the power of force. Looking down on others due to one's so-called station in life, their ethnicity, or feelings of superiority. Anything that breeds conflict, one person or one group against another. Traditions that lead to prejudice, jealousy, hatred, lack of forgiveness, greed, and so forth. Traditions that foster harsh words and criticisms, contentions, bickering, and sarcasm. In our busy world, some of our positive traditions are part of activities where we can spend meaningful, healthy, uplifting time with our family members. When we can do that, it's good to make the time and take the time to foster building healthy relationships through building healthy, uplifting traditions. Dieter F. Uchtdorf put it nicely when he says, if we fail to give our best personal self and undivided time to those who are truly important to us, one day we will regret it. Let's resolve to cherish those we love by spending meaningful time with them, doing things together, and cultivating treasured memories. As I said, when we can do that, it's good to make the time and take the time. We realize that there are some abusive situations that we must avoid completely. Elevate your traditions. Making a break from the chains of false or destructive traditions can be hard. There can be naysayers and those who criticize or persecute. Some friends or family members may turn away or argue that you're wrong, possibly causing self-doubts or fears. But I believe that deep within us, there's an inner knowing of what's ours to do. And if elevating a tradition for ourselves and future generations is part of our life's mission, then we will find the wherewithal to stay the course. When the effort to change traditions becomes hard, remember that at birth, your spirit came from the presence of God. As the poet Wordsworth says, trailing clouds of glory. So your ultimate heritage of wholeness comes from you being his son or his daughter. Therefore, the wisest course of action is to remain loyal to traditions that accurately reflect God's teachings. Those decisions will bring you true happiness and the greatest inner peace. After all, we want to find ways to preserve our past without compromising our present. Sometimes that takes a change at the level of tradition, and breaking destructive traditions can seem like you're no longer loyal to the family in which you were born, which can be extremely painful. Sometimes breaking those patterns can feel like we're abandoning the family rather than improving the family for the sake of the living, as well as those yet to come into your family line. This, too, must be seen in the light of truth, or the fear of abandonment can shut you down. You can do it. As an inspired action step, take time to ponder which traditions help and which traditions hurt yourself and your family. Build on those traditions that lift and bless and discard the rest. Make room for the new. You are today's change maker, chain breaker. As today's change maker, chain breakers in our family lines, we're here to create positive change in spite of any disruptions or destructive patterns in our families of origin, or in spite of what we may have occurring in our family line now. Each of us can ignite the light of extraordinary family purpose in ourselves and our families. We do it by igniting the light of our own personal power to influence others for good through making principle-centered choices in order to secure the home and stabilize society. Check out my class offerings that can help you strengthen your ability to live according to the principles that govern happiness in yourself and in your relationships. This podcast has been an excerpt taken from the Revitalize Your Inner Worth, Get Out of the Sludge class. Break free and rise above destructive thought patterns, habit patterns, and family patterns so you can fill your highest priorities with full purpose of heart. Till next time, this is Carolyn Carlton.
Your ability to bounce back is possible, no matter your past. Carolyn will help you leave behind what's holding you back. Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And to be sure to check out Carolyn's Renew You classes. You can find contact information, links to her social media, and more at FamilyTreeQuest.com.